coming to the stage right now, and I know many people probably would want to do the same thing that this young man is trying to do, especially with everything that's going on. And you know what, we got some questions for him. Let me bring Mr. Dan Miller on. Mr. Dan Miller, founder.
Do you realize how long it's been since I've been called a young man? So thank you. Thank you. It's glorious.
What is going on in Texas, and what are y'all trying to do? Because I'm hearing, or I'm seeing 4 million people from California migrate over to your state. 4 million. And, it's just the border situation and stuff. It's crazy down there in Texas. And actually, I think Texas is a leader for all of us because of your independence. I mean, y'all are born with independent spirit. Tell our audience what TEXIT is all about.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly what it says on the tin. You know, if folks remember Brexit, which was the British exit from the European Union, TEXIT is a Texas withdrawal from the United States to become a self-governing independent nation again. And look, you hit on a lot of the reasons already why so many people are motivated to see Texas raise its head and stand among the nations again. The fact is that becoming an independent nation gives us immediate control of our immigration and border policy. And when you've got such lawlessness down on the border that's being fostered and facilitated by the federal government, you throw that on top of the fact that Texas overpays anywhere from $103 to $160 billion annually into the federal system. You know, there's 180,000 pages of federal laws, rules, and regulations that we live under that if you printed them out and stacked them up, it'd be taller than the Washington Monument. And the fact that our lives are being controlled by an unaccountable federal judiciary and 2.5 million unelected bureaucrats, you can understand why the TNM and specifically TEXIT has grown in such popularity to the point where it's almost an inevitability at this point.
Yeah, Texas, I was always under the belief that Texas was the largest country in America. At least that's what they told me when I was there. But no, you guys are getting hammered when it comes to the border, when it comes to being able to secure your own border and maintain that type of thing. We saw as the federal government under Barack Hussein Obama and now Joe Biden and the insanity with the tripling and the quadrupling of refugees and whatnot, rename it, just let it be. The funding that's been stopped for border wall creation, fixing, and moving forward. Texas has got to be absolutely up in arms. And our founding fathers wanted the feds to be small in each state to run its own state, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, look, the first words of the Texas Constitution, our Bill of Rights is in Article 1, if that gives you any indication how we feel about such things. But the very first words in Article 1, Section 1 say that Texas is a free and independent state. And then it goes on to say that the perpetuity of the Union depends on the right of local self-government unimpaired to all the states. And what we see is a pattern here of interference and a denial of our right of local self-government. When you have it, and look, we can concentrate on this issue with the border, and it is absolutely the biggest issue on the minds of Texans right now. But let's not forget that President Potato Head literally spent a year plus crisscrossing the country, threatening to implement policies that are going to destroy our key economic sectors, right? I mean, and so we have a guy who can magically fall upstairs, right? That's David Copperfield level stuff, right? Harry Potter can magically fall upstairs. And he's literally saying that amendments are not absolute.
I'm sorry.
Did I win for the day?
Well, I'm glad that you called him President Potato Head because I actually call his press secretary a sack of potatoes because a sack of potatoes does more than what she does.
Well,
so that's what we call
let's be honest. I mean, if the answer is Joe Biden, the question is animal, vegetable, or mineral, right?
Oh, no!
When you say vegetable, you mean coma. Hey, is there... There's been chatter of Texas possibly turning blue in 2024. You're right. Your boots on the ground. What are you seeing firsthand? Should we be afraid? Because you guys typically give us hope down there in Texas. So give us something we can be happy about.
Well, look, this whole apple cart is about to be upset, right? The TEXIT issue is going to change the dynamic. 2022 is kind of the trifecta for us, right? We've got redistricting, which is going to be quite interesting. We've got our statewide elected offices, and then we have the TEXIT train that's barreling to knock all the tables over. One thing that most people don't realize, back at the beginning of the session, our organization's been working on this issue since 2005. And our first kind of step into getting this done was filing legislation that would give Texans a Brexit-style vote on whether to stay or go. Well, at the beginning of the session, State Representative Kyle Biederman filed House Bill 1359, which would do exactly that. And at the beginning of that session, we warned all of the legislators, you either give us a referendum on Texas in 2021 or we're going to have a referendum on you in 2022. And they look like they want to call our bluff, which is, that's hilarious because that's going to be fine for us. But the fact of the matter is you're going to see an unprecedented level of challenges in both the primaries and the general election in 2022, coupled with what is shaping up to be a very heated governor's race. And so this idea about Texas turning blue, I think the electorate here is a little bit sick and tired of having it painted as a red versus blue issue, especially when you have Republicans in the state house acting like they want to placate or implement it as policy parts of the Democratic Party platform. So, whether it's rhinos, wolves in sheep's clothing, whatever you want to call it, the Texas electorate is essentially using the TEXIT issue as a litmus test for whether or not their elected officials, regardless of party, believe that they are the servants of the people. Article 1, Section 2 of the Texas Constitution says that all political power is inherent in the people, and the people are rising up here in Texas to take that power back so that we can fix issues like the border and immigration and, fight off the Green New Deal and all of these things that are coming down the pike that are going to make Texas no longer Texas.
But
go ahead.
I was going to say the legislation coming out of this administration is absolute insanity, as you pointed out. But coming out of Ohio, the Ohio Republicans this Friday are going to vote on censuring, I believe it's 9 different rhino Republicans, or they're calling them T-rhinos, Trump Republicans in name only. So, I mean, as long as we can start to expose these Liz Cheneys and Jeff Flakes of the world, that hopefully – we can make a big change in the party.
You know what, Joe? Let me say this, because I hope that we don't lose one thing though. We still have to be able to call balls and strikes as balls and strikes, and I don't want the future of the party to get to a place where if somebody stands up now. I'm not saying that Liz Cheney or Mitt Romney or anything is out there telling the truth, because I don't know. I don't know because what's happening in DC is crazy. I just don't want the leaders or the outcome to be that we are looked at as just peddling lies all the time. If you move out, we have to be able to call balls and strikes as balls and strikes. You agree?
Well, look, from my viewpoint, I think it's important that people like us deal in actual ideology and not party identification. I mean, look, let's look at the reality of it. I can go down and vote in a Republican primary, and by law, I'm a Republican. Right. But just because I vote in a Republican primary doesn't make me a Republican. So, these labels of conservative, liberal, Republican, Democrat are essentially irrelevant, because we can't agree on what a definition is. Liz Cheney and Mitt Romney think they are Republicans. Right. And Frank, it's ridiculous, because you take someone and, you take those guys and compare them to me. I make Pat Buchanan look like Chairman Mao. Okay. So the fact of the matter is that these guys, they identify however they want to. So we get engaged in these circular firing squads, and you have Republicans placating to the left because they want to win the popularity contest, and they have no fixed North Star, right? They are possessed of no firm set of principles when their only motivation is to get elected in the next election, right? To just placate enough liberals. And you know what's amazing is the progressive left, the neo-Marxist, they don't have that problem. They don't placate to people like us that are liberty-minded and constitutionally minded, believe in rule. They don't placate to us. They don't find the middle ground. So, you know, you want to understand why time and time again, people that are labeled as conservatives, people that are labeled as Republicans lose ground, and why TEXIT is gaining such ground in Texas is because the old paradigm of politics is not going to work. You know, Texans are saying, go shovel your crap somewhere else. We want to vote, we want self-government, and we want elected officials in the state house that aren't treating our elected offices like a AAA ball club, trying to get a promotion to the U.S. Congress so they can get a pay raise.
And see, that's why I go back to that finding the middle ground. There aren't a whole lot of people up there. I don't care whether they're rhinos or so-called conservatives. There aren't a whole lot of people in Congress right now that are finding the middle ground. And like I said, to me, Texas is a standout state because of their independence. They're not going to let you treat them anyway, anyhow. You have to be honest with it, Texans. Texans want you to be honest. You can come over, we can break bread, and we can talk about anything, but as long as you're honest, everything is straight. Once you lie, yeah, you know, there's some problems. We gotta fix it. We gotta fix it.
Kind of like when you lied and called me a young man earlier. You know, I was triggered. You know. Hey, but look, here's what it boils down to, right? And if you want to understand kind of the root of the Texan mindset on this particular issue, it all boils down to one question, and it's the thing that we've been asking as we have crisscrossed Texas. You know, we're just, you know, building support left and right. But here's the question we ask them. If Texas was a free and independent state right now in every respect, right? We had control of our borders, our immigration policy, we had our own currency, our own army, all the things that you attribute to a self-governing independent nation. And the question was instead, would you vote to join the union? Would you?
No.
And, you know, it's amazing that people, not just in Texas, but in other states, are examining that question. And frankly, it's a question that should be on all of our minds right now. Knowing what we know about the federal government, if the choice was on the ballot to join the union right now, would we do it? And I can't think of any state, I mean, with the exception maybe of a few like California, New York, the guys that leech off the rest of us. But, you know, I can't think of any other state that probably would not be better off. You pull out a globe, you spin it around, and you put your finger on any landmass and understand that those people are a self-governing independent nation state, right? And so, you know, they don't have federal bureaucrats from Washington, D.C., from the District of Criminals, Mordor on the Potomac, interfering in their lives, right? What they have is they have the ability to govern themselves. Their laws begin and end at their borders. And isn't that really what we should all be striving for, is self-government, both at a collective and individual level?
Amen. That's what they're asking.
Man, you really be putting some good ones down. You know that, right?
Hey, I'll be here all night, and then I'll be at the Ramada room at the Holiday Inn.
Well, the audience in the chat room are saying, "How do we follow this young man?" So let's hear how do they follow you?
Well, just ask the FBI or the CIA. I'm probably sure they can give you directions on how to do that. It's quite simple. Look, if anyone has any questions about the TEXIT issue, right, and it's a big issue, I just encourage them to go to the website texitnow.org, and there are the almost 100 most asked questions in minute detail. And I would encourage any of those people out there that are watching to either register their support with us, become a member of our organization, make a contribution, or even contact us about how you can start an independence movement like ours in your state right now. And a caveat, I know people are going to call asking us to give them advice on where to move and how to get moving trucks. We are not a real estate company, okay? You got to work that out on your own.
All right.
Thanks, Daniel.
Thank you, man. Thank you so much.
Hey, thank y'all so much.
All right. Appreciate y'all. You know, I mean, that's that. You know,
Like-
criminals.
I could sit, man. I could sit and just.
He has a nice voice. Like if he read audio, that Audible, you ever hear audible.com? If he read books for Audible, I would listen to the books. Like he
Well,
could
you-
make a ton of money doing that.